Dear friends, I am happy to be addressing this young cohort of civil service aspirants today through the online learning platform provided by Unacademy in partnership with the Hindu Group. It indeed gives me immense pleasure to inaugurate the first of its kind e-conclave for UPSC examination aspirants. Dear friends, it is heartening to know that even in time of such an unprecedented pandemic, the Hindu Group and Unacademy are dedicated in providing the much needed support to civil service aspirants. With staying home having become the norm during the COVID-19 pandemic, study from home has become important for every student. I am glad to know that Unacademy has striven to pave the way forward for online, interactive and instructive education in a stronger manner, especially during the current uncertain times. Ladies and gentlemen, and my dear budding civil servants, I am indeed glad to have the opportunity to share with you my nearly 6 decades of experience of Indian democracy, our governance paradigm, and how through the years the civil servants and the administration has evolved. A professionally managed civil service lies at the cornerstone of the edifice of good governance and responsive public service delivery. The need for an autonomous body to create merit-based civil services was felt even long before independence. The first Public Service Commission was set up in 1926 under the chairmanship of Sir Ross Barker. This commission had limited advisory functions. Subsequently, Federal Service Commission was set up under the Government of India Act 1935. It also contained provision for formation of Public Service Commission at the provincial levels. After India attained independence, the Union Public Service Commission was set up with Article 315 of the Constitution of India. The Constituent Assembly played a dominant and visionary role in granting constitutional status to UPSC as it realized the importance of having an autonomous body for independent and meritorious men and women to provide for carrying out public administration on the basis of professionally managed cadres of civil services. Dear young friends, as aspirants for the coveted civil services, the nation, it is important for you to understand ethos of civil service and what the role of civil service administration in a multifaceted nation as India. Modern civil services, as established by the British rulers, was essentially an instrument of coercion, tasked primarily with the job of collecting revenue and maintaining law and order problems directly administered by the British, and the task of maintaining British suzerainty in the princely states. The system so created put in place junior Lat Sahibs of the divisional, Mafassal, subdivisionals and the residency level. In effect, it created a new and parallel federal structure that had all the related trappings but whose personnel were paid salary and were transferable. This system was essentially meant to perpetuate the status quo in favor of the colonial rule. Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, it will be important for us to understand that on August 15, 1947, and more so after 26 January 1950, the nature, character and role of civil services in India changed for all time to come. From instruments of perpetuation of status quo, the civil service was engaged in implementational agents of mammoth socio-economic and political transformation. Coercive functions of tax collection and maintenance of order became secondary, and public welfare and policy implementation became the primary role from Lat Sahibs, Lord of the People. Its personnel became servants of the people, tasked with assisting an elected government in the job of nation building. The civil services thereafter play a foundational role in reinforcing and strengthening the democratic values of India as the backbone of governance. The civil servants assist the government commitment in the formulation and implementation of public policies for holistic development, be it social, economic or political development. The task and challenges of nation building requires close cooperation between the civil servants and the people at large. The current crisis faced by the country as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic reflects how important the public administration of the country. It has once again reinforced the fact that the success of our development program depends on the quality of the public administration, be it formulating the guidelines of the countrywide lockdown, formulating the path of economic progress of the country, ensuring the supply of essentials or the transportation of migrant workforce. It was a faceless civil servant from the highest to the lowest level who have been involved in the carrying out the vision of the government and ensuring smooth governance every step of the way. How much they succeeded is discourse something to be assessed in hindsight. As a civil servant, you have the team. As a civil servant, you have to learn the motto of service before self. As a frontline representative of the system, it falls upon your shoulders to create an administration which is efficient, and effective, transparent in its activities, and professional. When you pass the most coveted examination of the country through your hard work and dedication, you must imbibe that in the hard work and dedication which you need towards public service when you become a public servant. People expect the administration to ensure that public services reach them in a timely and efficient manner. They want immediate disposal of their grievances. They expect the benefits of welfare measures to seamlessly reach the poorest of the poor. This calls for improving service delivery by adopting good governance practices. Governance is crucial for economic development, equity, and must ensure participation of all sections of society. An important and apolitical bureaucracy strengthens governance and contributes towards economic development and social transformation. The concept of good governance has been in vogue since ancient time, as emphasized by Kautilya in the ancient treatise Arthashastra, and I quote, "The happiness of the people is the happiness of the king. Their good alone is his personal good, is not his true good. The only true good being that of the people. Therefore, let the king be active in working for the prosperity and welfare of the people." Unquote. In a democratic nation like India, good governance is synonymous with the social welfare and inclusive development, and thus must be accorded highest priority. Absence of good governance has been identified as the root cause of many of the deficiencies in society. It robs the citizenry of their social and economic rights. Good governance signifies basic parameters such as the rule of law, particularly decision making, structure, transparency, accountability, responsiveness, equity, and inclusiveness. The country's public administration has to run on those principles. What form the bedrock of good governance? Transparency and accountability. These are two pillars of good governance. Transparency refers to the availability of information to the general public and clarity about the functioning of governmental institutions. Transparency enhances productivity as it helps government organizations to function more objectively. It also enables and encourages the common man to effectively participate in the government's process. The Right to Information Act has made the administrative machinery more responsive and efficient in meeting the needs of the masses. there has been a paradigm shift in the developmental approach. Citizens have been provided security for food, education, and job by empowering them through entitlements backed by legal guarantee. Implementing these novel initiatives call for robust delivery mechanism. The direct benefits transfer scheme leverage the other system to usher to great transparency and improve targeting, eliminate wastage, and enhance efficiency. As we make a transition towards a more digital world, more and more public services moving a digital platform, e-governance has helped to change the outlook of the masses towards administration. Automation of government services has facilitated faster information dissemination. It has been successful in areas like land records management, law and order administration, pension disbursement, and public information systems, especially relating to health and railways. The greater usage of the internet has helped to integrate all areas of our country into the mainstream. However, despite achieving success on several counts, there are still many challenges for the governance system in our country. Corruption is one of the biggest factors that hinder efficient performance of the economy. There is a need to eliminate interfaces of the delivery of services. It is also necessary to adopt non-discretionary approach towards decision making and initiate two-way communications with the users. Public services have a lot to do for moving towards a global competitive governance model for India. We have to develop our public administration into a dynamic and result-oriented bureaucracy. My young friends, tomorrow belongs to you. Your commitment to national goal will determine the direction of our future growth. As you get ready to embark on the journey to fulfill your dreams, let me share with you my own little checklist for nation building. We work towards nation building if we produce more than we consume, we give more than we take, we work more than we idle, and we think more than we talk. You may just find this list useful. Thank you. Jai Hind.